And all the brothers and sisters said, "Amen."
I love that you think we're going to punch him in the mouth.
Fingers crossed, right?
And I ain't butt chugging anything.
We got to do some content here.
In the Venn diagram of fucked up, I'm not sure where that fits, but I'm pretty sure I hit the nail right on the head there.
Works well under close Nick Saban adult supervision.
Randy Sanders has the team dialed in. They are ready to go.
How many bananas do you want out of me?
Don't know. I kind of want to give Vanderbilt some love here.
I love those head games at the two.
You got to weigh all your options.
It's so much fun.
Nobody wants to go Lane Kiffin here? I might go Lane Kiffin here.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another week is in the books. We only have a few weeks left. Liquor and Leagues. Regular season's over. We did the regular season run. Now we're down to the SEC championship. That was the week that was. And then we'll be looking ahead to the semi-final games for the CFP playoff. But before we do that, let me just go ahead and ask, how is everybody doing today?
Not good.
Not too good. Boom, shakalaka, motherfucker. Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing surprisingly well.
That was not a great game. Not a great game.
What was your text? That was an invigorating day of football.
That's right.
Well put. Look, you sent a text at 3:34, and then I didn't hear again from nobody heard again from you until today. And I was like, we're texting back and forth, and I keep waiting, and you never said a word.
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep before the end of the game.
Really?
We could call it fell asleep.
For the purposes of this show,
I remember snuggling down into the sofa, and I was like, what's this comfy?
And then I don't remember.
And then it was like, I had to look at my phone to see what the final was. So, yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't shocked, unfortunately. We are at the inflection point that I think every Georgia fan knew we'd get to, which is Kirby has got to make the decision on the quarterback.
Oh, see, I
left
my
Stetson
wife.
in, and he was struggling. He played exactly like he did before. I mean, they got beat, flat out got beat. It isn't all on Stetson. I think they got coached as well. Even
your buddy Gary Danielson said, "Are they going to make a change?" What's going to happen?
It's one of those like I was more interested in what was behind the decisions versus the outcome of the game as it went on, and that's what I'll be very curious to see what happens in these coming weeks.
Yeah, Hosh, you were going to say something before.
Well, because I was going to say, the quarterback play, of course, but I mean the defense. Or lack thereof.
There was no pass rush. Yeah, it was a weird scheme.
And the secondary was getting burned left and right, I felt like.
Yeah, they had no pass rush, which gave Mechie and
Williams,
just too much time.
Opening, and that Williams kid is fucking fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think, was it him that had 7 catches for like 186 yards? I mean, so the whole scheme just didn't make sense, and they didn't really adjust, which I thought was curious. And so it got to a point in the game where I was like, I don't know that they're still playing to win, is sort of what it felt like. Now, I bet players on the field will be like, well, if we weren't playing to win, somebody should have told me. But anyway, it was just a weird game. Watching it, it had a weird vibe to it, and they never looked like they really, were had a handle on the game. And the score speaks for itself.
Yeah. Of course, we don't have Mac, unfortunately, because this is in part directed at him. Obviously, Grinch, it's going to feel like it's directed at you, but it's not as much. I did want to go back to week 9, right after the Florida-Georgia game. I made a bold statement, and I got fucking hammered by a number of people on the show. Grinch, you withstanding because you kept your mouth shut, although you did chime in a little. But I made a statement that Georgia was neither the best team or the most complete team in the country. My point then was Georgia has not been tested. Georgia has only played from behind, I think, once, and that was either 3 or 7 points. They've never been in the hole. Their defense has kept them in the game. They have the number 1 scoring defense in the country. But unfortunately, as you said, they got beat yesterday. They came up against a buzzsaw, and they've just never been used to playing from behind, really.
Well, I mean, the issue I had at the time, and I stand by it now, is if nobody tests them, how can they be tested? And
Right.
since nobody ever stepped up to test them, it's like,
You never really.
it's not
know.
that I don't understand the statement, but it's like, what are they supposed to do about that?
Right.
You
And
know, they're,
Is
and
this
so,
is this a Kirby Smart issue though? Not
to a
not making the
degree,
changes.
to a degree. I mean, he wouldn't do it with Jake Fromm. We saw it when Justin Fields was behind. He gets loyal to his quarterback, and it's admirable,
But detrimental.
but detrimental.
Yeah.
And
It's potentially problematic, as we've seen.
and I thought the defense got really exposed, which was curious to me. It was just like I said, it was a curious scheme. It I couldn't tell what they were trying to achieve. It was like I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the LSU Georgia game where they just played this like super contained strategy against Burrow. And it's like, if you don't get to him, I mean, I know it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, but it's like, if you don't get to him, you don't make him uncomfortable. And if you don't make him uncomfortable, he's good. Like he probably won the Heisman yesterday, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like at the time when I heard the statement, I just don't know what to offer for the team to do to itself to create that.
Right.
Because nobody has pushed them into the fourth quarter. Now I will say, I heard an interesting comment on one of the channels that I follow on YouTube. And this particular guy described what he called a good loss, which was, you know, Bama had its good loss, if you will, at A&M. Like it kind of showed them some stuff. It made them wake up to where they were vulnerable. Now the Auburn game is a curious one because it's such raw emotion that it's not schematic necessarily in what, you know, the win loss.
That's an entirely different rivalry type of game for them.
Yeah. So I mean, in a way, I'm glad Georgia has lost like it has, because now it understands what everybody else is seeing. So they got time to figure that out.
Yeah, and again, like we've said all season, your defense is not your problem. And you can make the argument, well, Alabama put up, 564 yards on you, which nobody's done all season. But your defense, by and large, keeps you in the game. It's just your offense, not being used to playing from behind. Your offense is not built to play from behind.
Well, it's not. And like I said, every Georgia fan knew we were going to get to this point. We just wondered when it would be. Because I think I said back in week 4 when it was like, hey, is it JT or is it Stetson? I said Stetson cannot make those throws that JT can.
Yeah, and
it's
you've
just
been
that
saying
simple.
JT was the guy.
Yeah, every fan has known he's the guy. It's not that we don't appreciate and love Stetson Bennett. I mean, the dude's, it's a great story, 30 for 30 kind of story, but it's the pre-read 5-star talent that is what's going to make a difference. And when you can put a defense on its heels, I mean, he just had some bad throws.
Yes. I
mean, some bad freaking throws. And, and it's like the team can feel it when it starts happening. And that defense, is needed some help and it didn't get any. And I mean, like I said,
and it's a weird dynamic because you go, well, if we put in another quarterback, you could have the Alabama effect, right? Jalen Hurts shits the bed. They put in Tua, he brings them back. The following year, Tua gets injured. Jalen comes in, obviously in both those scenarios, the backup came in and played lights out, but you could have the reverse where you put in the backup and it throws off the offense and you get no better and you just never know. And I'm sure Kirby was like, I don't want to make a change at this point in the game.
Well, and that's why I say I felt like that's when you kind of realized as a fan, like nothing was really going to change. You weren't sure they were playing to win anymore. As much as, okay, I don't know for sure we'll make it in if we lose, but we stand a good chance. I mean, I think every Georgia, like everybody has been saying that all week of like a 1-loss Georgia would likely make it in.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those, like, I think you start weighing, in your mind of like, what is it worth? Is it worth going all in, pulling all the stops to get this SEC championship? Or do you fight? Do you set the conditions to fight for another day? And, I mean, Michigan is not going to be an easy test.
No,
they're a solid team this year. But it is still super interesting. I mean, you go, well, is an A&M better than a Georgia? Well, I don't know, but they beat Alabama. Is an Auburn better than a Georgia? Clearly not, based on their play, but yet they held Alabama to scoreless into the fourth quarter. So it's just weird. It's just weird.
And you expect you think, okay, well, Georgia, they're going to watch game film and they'll try to capitalize on the mistakes that Alabama made that they've watched in game film at both Texas A&M and Auburn, and yet they just never seem to be able to capitalize and get ahead. And it was just, I don't know, it was definitely an interesting game to watch. I think the other point that, and again, I made this back in week 9, was Haas and Mac both said defenses win championships. And right here, you can see Georgia is 28-2, 28th offense, second defense in the country. Alabama 6-7. That to me says more complete team. And yesterday
I
demonstrated
agree.
that. So
you can't have the 28th offense and go up against a more well balanced team and make a bunch of mistakes and win.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't win the turnover ratio. They would get stops and not be able to do anything with them offensively. Not going to win that way.
Right. Obviously, we see where things fall out. Now we've had the CFP rankings for the semifinal game, so we know how that's going to be. But before we jump to that, do we want to talk about any other games? I know we focus on the SEC. Do we care about any other games? Obviously, Cincinnati beat Houston fairly handily. Michigan stomped, but number 13. I don't know what that really means in terms of them in the Big Ten.
I will say, if you saw the last play of that Oklahoma State Baylor game, oh my God.
I thought he was going to be in.
I did too. I was watching it live and I was just like, holy shit, he's not going to make it.
And the guy just ran his ass down.
You just see him dive and just come up like that pylon shot of just the ball going right by it. I was like, "Urgh."
That's painful. Exactly. I mean, for the most part, yesterday kind of fell out. I think how most people, there were a few, again, obviously Baylor over 5, Oklahoma State. What was the other one? Utah State over San Diego State. Not that that matters, but an unranked over number
Utah
19.
over Oregon.
Utah over Oregon.
Earlier Friday. Yeah, and I will say, I mean, obviously I'm benefit from this statement, but I don't disagree with how the CFP chose the teams and ranked them.
I mean,
I heard it said best. It's like if Notre Dame has any complaints, they're looking at the team they could have beat that would have put them there. That's ahead of them. Like,
right. So with that being said, I'd like to ask the group, right? We're looking at an Alabama-Cincinnati semifinal and a Georgia-Michigan semifinal. And I think by and large, most of the nation probably wanted to see Georgia-Alabama again on the 31st because nobody wants to see an all SEC championship again, right? In terms of the Power 5 conferences.
Well, I mean, unless you're in the SEC, right?
Right. But I'm just saying, so how do we feel about that?
I mean, what I heard was kind of the opposite, which is they wouldn't want to see them play each other again so soon.
That quick? Do you think that benefits Georgia to play again that quick? Knowing, I only ask that because, God, what if they lose to Michigan and never get another chance?
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, given that I think Michigan is a very good team, I think it is a really good test to see if Georgia can fix the things that Alabama exposed because Michigan took note.
Oh yeah.
So I think that having that game under their belt prior, if they're lucky enough to be successful, will make them a better team going into the next competition.
I think you're probably right. Haas, what about you? Do you think it benefits to have a all SEC semifinal or an all SEC national championship?
I think national championship. I think it goes back to what we've always been talking about. I mean, easily, if the SEC is not beating up on each other as much as they are, you could potentially see 3, maybe even 4 teams in there at some point.
Right.
I still don't think that's outside the realm of possibility, regardless. But yeah, I'm okay with an all SEC championship.
So,
I mean, look. If these other teams want to be there, they got to earn it. They got to do something better than what they've been doing. They got to do something better than what the SEC's been doing.
The interesting part here is Michigan hung 40 some odd points on, was it Iowa State, right?
Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
On Iowa?
They just played Iowa for the big.
I thought it was
Iowa State.
I did
No,
too.
it is Iowa. It is Iowa. I'm sorry, I was looking wrong. Thing. I
Well, that
wanna
just
see
goes to
some.
show Grinch is smarter than we are.
Look at you mean he reads
That's fine.
better than we do? Don't get
Oh,
carried away.
that might be true. That might be true.
He picked LSU in the SEC championship. Don't
That's
talk
right,
about smart
that's
to me. Defense. Iowa's ranked 19th in defense, and Michigan's offense is ranked 18th. So I mean, they blew them out. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of test this is for Georgia going forward.
Yeah.
I don't think your defense. I still think your defense is stout, and
I mean, it is. It's just one of those like I sometimes think Kirby gets a little too clever, gets a little too cute, and it's one of those like maybe needs to take a little bit of a step back and let like Dan Lanning and like Muschamp kind of no Munkin's offense.
Muschamp.
Yeah, like
teams,
those two kind of work some thoughts based on the game. But I mean, I'm not in the locker room. What do I know? I just as I saw it and I was like, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. Like it seems like it's trying to be a little too clever. It's got some glaring issues that keep getting exploited throughout the game. They aren't being addressed. And, anyway.
Right. All right. Well, before we move on to picking both of our semifinal games, I do have one more question for you, Grinch. Does JT Daniels start in the semifinal, or does he continue?
That's going to be the question. It's going to be the question. I mean, I think the fan base, which was questioning in the game why he was still sitting on the sidelines as, interception number 2's happening. Right. He almost threw a pick 6 on the first drive. Right. I mean, I think the change has to happen, and I think you got to do it as soon as possible to start putting him back in with the ones and get that offensive system working back under JT, in the time that you have off.
And he's got time. He's got a few weeks.
Yeah.
So he's got time to do it if that's the choice he makes. And that's why I know you said like good loss. That one penalty, if you can have a good penalty where the hike occurs and the ball hits Stetson in the face and Alabama just plows through and covers the ball. But then there's the foul for false start. Like if you're going to get a foul, that's the fucking foul to get right there, man. That was perfectly timed. It's like
that replay.
Yeah. Kirby was thanking that offensive lineman for fucking up. He's like, thank you. Because, they get that ball. You never know what happens at that point. But.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go. I know you've said it. You said it about the Florida loss. Like, you hate to see it. It happens. Like, again, this with Georgia. I didn't expect the scoreline to be 41-24. I think maybe, 24-21. I think I expected it to be a lower scoring game. But, I don't know. Hopefully Georgia rebounds from this, and we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump into our 2 semifinal games on December 31st. The Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl. We now know with CFP rankings, Alabama is going to face number 4 Cincinnati, and Georgia number 3 is going to face, number 2 Michigan. So, all right, Grinch, you won the regular season, 89 wins across the board. Obviously, you lost the Alabama-Georgia pick, but you still hold at 89. Haas and I are tied at 87, and Mac brings up the rear at 85. So
why is yours showing 86?
No, that's 86 in regular season, and then the bowl.
Oh, I see in the one. Oh, gotcha.
And then the total win. Yeah,
I gotcha. Okay.
Haas.
Apparently, you can read better.
Yes, your win percentage dropped by a point. Grinch is still at 79%. You were at 78. You're now at 77. So, the next 2 games. So, Grinch, you will pick first as the outright leader, and then Haas, then me, and then Mac.
I'm not
indifferent.
Stressed.
I'll tell you my indifference is because Alabama currently is a 13.5 point dog, and Georgia is currently a 7-point dog.
In the next 2 games?
These coming up games, the lines are already out.
Wait a minute. Well, Alabama's the underdog to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying that? I'm sorry. I keep doing that. My bad.
I'm like,
Alabama is currently laying 13.5. They are favored by 13.5.
Understood.
Georgia is favored by 7.
Okay. Sorry. Because when I'm like,
they're
Alabama's
giving
the
points.
Underdog?
Yeah. I'm sorry. They're giving points. No, my bad.
Okay.
Well, I'm going Bama and Georgia on these 2. I know that's not
a big shock.
Yeah, that's chalk chalk
Yeah.
across the board. I mean, the Bama Cincinnati game, I just don't see. I don't see Cincinnati being competitive. The Georgia Michigan game, I realize it's a 7-point spread, which is interesting. It's a point five, half a point more than the Georgia was favored over Alabama.
Right.
But the fact that it did go to 7 is interesting to me. But yeah, I'm gonna go Georgia.
Okay.
I think they're gonna right the ship.
Alabama, Georgia for Grinch. And then if you see down here, what I marked is those are your picks, obviously, for the national championship, right? Because that's who you chose. And this is simply going to be, let's see who, if anyone guesses who obviously the final ultimately is. That's why I was curious. All right, Haas, you are up. Haas, you are 2 games behind. You know you hold the tiebreak in the ETSU league.
Yep.
3 games left still gives you a chance.
Yep.
So, all right. So you are going first.
I'm going
Alabama,
to go
Cincinnati.
Alabama.
Okay. And then Georgia, Michigan.
I have to go Michigan.
Yes.
Lydia. What?
And you go Michigan. I completely understand, right? It's the only way to stay in the game.
It's the only way to still make it competitive.
A pox upon your team.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean,
I get
why Georgia played so bad yesterday, right?
Chlamydia.
Chlamydia. Gonorrhea.
Someone of them. I am
it
also
burns, coach. It burns.
I'm also going to go Michigan. Ultimately, I have to go. I mean, it's the only way to catch the Grinch. Alabama, Cincinnati. What have I got to lose, right? I mean, I might as well at this point. I got to roll the dice. I can catch a break or not. And if I don't, I'm not out anything. I'm still behind Haas. So I'm going to roll the opposite on both for Grinch, and then I'm going to go Michigan for Michigan, Haas, and then obviously off of your Alabama with Cincinnati. I mean, it's the only way I think. Obviously, I have a shot, so that's what I'm going to do. I think it's a losing proposition, but
yeah,
nothing ventured, nothing gained.
I'm not overly thrilled about it, but I mean, again, it's gamesmanship now, right?
Right. And I'm sure Grinch is like, yeah, go ahead, pick Cincinnati, motherfucker. I mean, it's what I got to do. Unfortunately, I fucked myself through the season, not making the right picks, and this is where I'm at now. So,
I mean, wouldn't that be something though if Cincinnati pulls that?
Oh shit! If they beat Alabama, do they?
Yeah, that would be something.
If Alabama loses to Cincinnati, you think Cincinnati's got a shot at the national title? I know they play, but
right. I mean, because suddenly like this Cinderella story just goes nuclear,
Oh yeah, Fickle can write his own fucking ticket at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we just have to address Max picks. So there we go. Our 2 semifinal games are locked in. I mean, this is going to be quite a story moving forward. All you're going to do is pick up one slot. So you won't quite be there. You're going to be hoping and praying, Haas, that you get the right pick in that championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So
which means
interesting.
If it's Georgia, whatever, if it's Georgia, I mean, shit, I'll have to go against Grinch no matter what he picks.
Well, ultimately, if you win this week, you will be tied for the lead. No, you won't. I'll be tied with the lead for him. If I win, you'll still be behind. He'll pick first.
A game. Yep. And I'll have to. Yeah, I'll have to sneak in on the national championship game and win via the tiebreaker.
That's the intent, is to cause stress all the way to the wire.
So you're leaving a lot to chance right there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've got to keep it interesting all the way down.
Yes,
it makes it more fun that way.
And I don't blame you. Look, it's been a great season. Haas, you mentioned that before Grinch came on, was like, you've really enjoyed this season in terms of the picks. We've vacillated in terms of being close, not being close. It's nice to at least be close here at the end and make it competitive, make it interesting, as opposed to just having a fucking blowout where no one can catch anybody.
Well, and shit, I mean, we're all pushing that 80 percentile win mark. Win percentage. That's nothing to scoff at.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the only when I was listening to the other podcast, the only comment I was going to make to that is we're picking wins. We're not picking against spread.
Right. Well, yeah, but
but
when you gamble, you can play straight up.
Right.
You don't get as big of a return.
I hate betting against spread.
And when I do as well, because it can really bite you. But I mean, you can also play parlays, which are straight up, and you can actually win quite a bit of money playing parlays as well.
How about Pittsburgh winning the ACC? I think that's been a minute since they've won.
I'm sure they're quite content with that one, though.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Hosh, you sent out the articles. Brent Venables potentially making a move. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what all the sources are saying.
If an extended.
Yep. What happens to Clemson if Venables leaves?
Will be interesting.
Is the next man up mentality work with coaches like it does with players? I don't know.
Well, it seems to work at Alabama.
Well, fair enough.
but that machine is well established. I mean, how well established is the Clemson machine?
I mean, he's the best coach in college football history. I mean, he if it weren't for him, like Georgia would have a national championship, which I realize is like a statement of the obvious. It's just one of those like, damn it, man. Lord Vader, get out of the way.
Look, you're in a safe space. We love you. Be completely honest. Were you truly unemotional about it, or is that your way of just dealing with it? I
mean, no,
of course not. You're like, what?
No. I was just really? Like, yeah, it was funny. Just kind of once I caught the vibe of the game, I was like, this is going to be good. Yeah. It was, I don't know. It was a weird feeling going into it. I mean, like, I was clapping when we got a touchdown, that kind of thing. And I don't know, like, it was just those little things that used to, what Georgia, like whenever it would start happening in Georgia games, like back when Rick was there.
Right.
And you just knew they weren't going to win. You're like, here we go. Drop pass. This messed up. Little thing. I mean, when they played Georgia Tech, and I got it's Georgia Tech, not one single penalty the entire game. Not one, despite having the 3s and the 4s in. And then it was just, I don't know. It was like so weird. Like everybody had this feeling that like Georgia was favored. They were going to win, but like, that is not what you felt from the field.
Right.
It did not feel that way at all. So
yeah, but Alabama had those 3 fucking penalties back to back on the second to the last drive of the first half, where Georgia ended up scoring, got them all the way down the field and scored. Unfortunately, I think they left too much time on the clock, and Bryce Young took them down, let them score, knowing they're getting the ball back in the second half, and very quickly it was a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
It is what it is.
That's why we play the game.
That's it. That's what you said. What'd you say in week 10? Georgia has done what they've had to do. Well, mostly right up until.
Well, I said they were who they needed to be win.
At the right, and
at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, and again, it's part of the same conversation. It's like, well, until they get tested, how do you know? Well, how are you tested?
I don't think
schedule's the schedule. They got to play who's in front of them. So.
Right. I didn't think Kirby Smart this season. Honestly, didn't think he'd be 0-4 against Saban this season. I thought for sure the way they were playing was like, and then it's just like you started to see little things, little hitches, and that's why I said after the Florida game, they don't feel complete. So I don't know, man. Like you said, they got time to right the ship.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the one frustration with Kirby is like he doesn't get ahead of the change that he knows is coming.
Right.
He almost kind of hopes it doesn't happen. And then when it does, it's like he's not ready for it. And then the fan base gets a little frustrated. And I mean, and it's hard to be frustrated. It's like, all right, you're 12-1. You just made the college football playoff.
Right.
There's not a lot to complain about there, but yet still you're like,
136 other teams didn't make it.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So. All right, gentlemen. Well, that wraps up the SEC championship version of Liquor and Leagues. We will move down the road to the semifinal games that will be happening on December 31st. So we will reconvene after the new year, and we will talk about those 2 games, see where our standings have us at that point, and make our predictions for the national championship. So, as always, thanks for your hot take and your perspective on SEC football here in the South. We do appreciate it. And, gentlemen, I will talk to you another time.